I know a lot of you guys by now have heard the story of Kamani LaTigue's. She was 13 years old in Toledo, Ohio, and she was living with her grandmother. And she went missing, and she was found in a home that had previously been burnt, but it was abandoned. And she had been left there by who has been called her father. Okay. The news is calling her his father. They have the same complexion. Kind of favor, could be, I don't know. The grandmother is saying that he told her he was the father, but the mother said he was not the father on several occasions. However, the grandmother had custody of her, and she was allowing the said father, who the news actually is calling him the dad, very telling, to come and see her. And she would also be allowed to go and be at his home where he had other children. He was on the news, and he was giving a testimony with the grandmother. And he said that while the grandmother was at work, Kelani had called him and said she was afraid that someone was trying to break in. He then said that he and a cousin, I guess a male cousin of his, came over, sat with her for an hour or so, and then still left the 13-year-old girl, allegedly left her there. And that was the last time anyone allegedly saw her. But, of course, they found her in the home, and he ended up being missing, and the SWAT team ended up getting into an alleged shootout with him where he was pow-powed, and the SWAT officer, said that this man had confessed to R-wording the 13-year-old girl and severing her hands and nearly severing her neck before leaving her unalived in the home. I saw this post initially on the Hungry Black Man's page because I follow him on Facebook, and there was some controversy because he wanted to purchase that home where she was found and turn it into something that would benefit the children of the neighborhood. And there was a huge uproar about it. So I decided to listen to all sides. And after making a few posts about this, the Hungry Black Man did go live last night. And I'll show you just a little bit of that live. You can go to his Facebook and you can see that entire live. And you can see the posts and you can see the commenters and everything else. And you can kind of get a gist of what parties from each side is saying, be it him and some of the people who live there. Now, of course, I initially was like, what? You just gonna jump out there and just decide to do this, blah, blah, blah. Didn't consult the family. This just happened. What if the family doesn't want the house to stay up? And yes, someone from there did say, that's not what we do. Something like this happens to someone we care about, our child. We burn that sucker down. That's the way they do things. So you can understand that point of view. So it's all different sides to it. But I did hear him out. He had very good points. I have been following him for a while, so I have seen a lot of his work. I'm familiar with what he does. And I will say different people, different environments, different upbringings, different traditions, different cultures, different experiences, and different callings. So you're going to have different mindsets and different outlooks on things. And he, being that this is his calling, he has a perspective that I don't think just everybody can see without actually listening to him. So he did put it in a different perspective for me. And I think maybe if he had the approach of, having them hear him out, he probably could have had, more open ears. But I think that people felt violated, disrespected. And, of course, the thing about, that happened to her in that house. No. So he still wants to do it, but he is offended by the backlash and the outrage, and the news media made a big deal out of it, but he did post it publicly. So I'm going to show you guys a snippet of his live, his page, if you're interested in, what he's trying to do, because it is something, just to kind of get a gist up, because, we do need to be putting in work out here. We got to be doing something about what's going on. This is a terrible, terrible thing that has happened, and we got to do something different than what we have been doing. So consider just at least informing yourself on what's going on with all parties concerning this, you know? So take a look.
It's a lot of pump faking leaders here, and when a real one comes in and makes moves, the fakes get shaken. The real ones will rise up. Keep the faith, sir. Appreciate that, David. So what's going on? Because I read Toledo. And here, guys, we're here continuing our Nashville coverage at Cal's Country Kitchen. Toledo was tearing it down. Yeah, the city of Toledo said they're going to tear it down in 3 months, but it's up to the owner. He can like save his property. I got the best of both worlds. I'm from the D. I can relate, but I migrate to Toledo. It's a strange indifference. Toledo had an identity complex that have been in the shadows of Detroit and Cleveland so much that they can't accept the help from others. I understand your why. It's just hard to understand the modest cultural differences sometimes, but healing helps and going back to help others. White people need to look at the big picture. Just because they aren't racist doesn't mean that racism. That's Chuck. You are so right. That's a very powerful sentence. Toledo is like that boyfriend that every girl be still doing this. And I'm like, well, I need to have the buy-in from Toledoans, but I don't see the buy-in, right? And so I'm asking myself, okay, no problem. We're gonna come back. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. Boyfriend. So that tells me that the only reason that you care is because I'm doing it. The only reason you're posting about this is because you want to get the fucking likes and shares off of my platform. And that makes sense, right? You want to be relevant in that space, and that's fine. I've been doing this before I even started Hungry Black Man. I started this work in the city of Miami, and that's why my name is good here. We eliminated child murders for over 10 years. 5 years in the city, 5 years, and then going on 10 years in the city that we operated in. And we're in the city of Miami right now, and we don't have large numbers of youth murders. When they happen, it's a tragedy, and we do the interventional work. Miami is a really small place. People think it's this big, put the girl in the ground. Yeah, it's like you guys are just making this like you don't actually care about this child. And then like the city is grieving. You got to wait. And it's like, what do you mean grieving? You didn't even know she existed. You don't even have programs that let you know that she fucking existed. This is what I do day in and day out. And for the soldiers that are in Toledo, all white women, I know white women that say, hey, like I'm not like that, like great hearted people, but
Okay, so that was just a little snippet of his live. I think it's just about like an hour or so. And it is a really good live because he gives just a little, insight into his work that he does. So it would make sense. It would make more sense as to why he would even be considering doing that. And then he gives you a pretty good idea of what, like, he gives a pretty good pitch of what his idea is to do. And he makes it clear that it's his money he's spending. He's not asking for any money. And it's not really that much. I think there's like $5,000. They're going to tear down the house anyway, and it's just going to be a lot. And he wants to create something, but he doesn't necessarily want involvement. He wants, if I'm correct, to be able to, establish a relationship with the proper people who are already putting in work in the community, to be able to hand that over to, so that they can have things in place that, can help the children there, and, have some place for them to go and things like that. So I definitely have a different perspective. And I think that sometimes we have to break some mindsets and get past some things because they are very limiting. Like, say, for example, some people saying we wouldn't want to see anything there anymore because it is, where she was left at, because I believe that's not where it happened, but where she was left at. But either way, it would be hard for them. And, his rebuttal is kind of like, hey, you're just going to drive by and there's an empty lot there. How's that going to help? So he is making a good point. And sometimes when men need to stand up and step up and do something to make changes, they're going to look like things that have not been happening and things that can be uncomfortable. So I definitely think it's worth the listen. And I do think that the community should be open, because actually, it sounds like a blessing. Definitely not saying that I know, but I'm saying that it is definitely something that people should have an open mind about and be willing to listen to this man, because, this is the work that he does. This is his calling. And even though he did initially back out from getting the place because of the backlash, and he was wanting to help pay for the funeral, but there was some confusion about that. But it seems like the funeral home is covering it, but people were attacking him on that too, and we know that's what people do. He is still saying that he is feeling deeply like he is called to do this. So I think the community and the family should be open to having conversations with this man, and not being opposed to him doing something. And participating. Okay. All right. So the second thing I want to talk about is the daughter, the young lady that this happened to, her mother, her auntie, the father, the grandmother. Now, people are attacking the mother. I have a problem with that. Let's talk about that. Now, we're going to listen to a little bit of the grandmother who had custody of the daughter. And we're going to listen to the auntie who says she had a closer relationship with the young lady and who was mostly around. And we're not going to listen to the mother at all, because why? She wasn't even there. But you guys are really attacking the mom, and you're also attacking the grandma, saying she has something to do with it. I really don't have anything to say about that, because I don't have enough information to judge, although I can agree that she made some horrible decisions. But one thing I can say is the way that you guys are talking online, it is showing your ignorance. And, generational trauma is a problem with this situation.
Oh, well, to my knowledge, he was just arrested in Columbus. He just recently had a shootout with the police in Columbus. They're saying that he confessed to her murder. And no, I take that back. They're saying that he confessed to her rape and slitting her throat.
How's it feel to learn that?
I can't even say.
As the police report mentions, Kimani was last seen with Darnell. Do you have any regrets of letting Kimani go with, as you're her guardian, do you have any regrets of letting Kimani go with Darnell?
I do, only because, like I said, I feel deceived. I feel like this was pre-planned. I feel like you meant to do this. I feel like you was grooming her.
Wow.
When you say grooming her, is there things that you saw before this?
No, I never saw anything out the ordinary. But when molesters decide to choose prey. They groom you first.
Okay, so I definitely understand, the attacks on the grandmother, and yeah, the family was out there attacking her too, and she was the one who had the custody and care of the child, and she is the oldest. She's the matriarch of the family, so she is the one who we immediately can look at for these generational curses, and she clearly has not broken them. And for whatever reason, she ended up with custody of this child. She was supposed to care for the child. She admits that she didn't even know or believe that he was her natural father. Yet she allowed this man to come see her even when she wasn't there, and she allowed this man to take the young lady away. She also talks about the fact that she was whooping on her. Now, we know whooping comes from slavery and is passed down. So when people whoop their children, they think that they're disciplining, and they think it's
Nine
right.
times out of 10,
that's because that's how you were disciplined. And again, that trickles down. But there's other parenting ways. Hitting and hurting someone, especially when you don't really have a great relationship with them and you don't talk to them and they don't feel comfortable talking to you as comfortable as they should, then that is hurting more than helping. However, I'm pretty sure that this woman thought that it was correct for her to just whoop the child if she felt like the child was misbehaving. Now, there are all kind of reasons why this child could have been doing something that the grandmother felt like was misbehaving, or getting bad grades in school, whatever it was that she felt like she was whooping her for. And it could have been the fact that she was not living with her mother. It could have been the fact that she didn't have a relationship with her natural father. It could have been the fact that she didn't have the nurturing relationship she needed from anybody else in her family, including her grandmother, or the fact that her grandmother was hitting her, or the fact that this guy was messing with her, or he was coming on to her. Who knows? But yes, this lady clearly dropped the ball, whether or not she knew it or not. She did not know how to properly raise this child because she was never taught to. Simple as that. But I do believe that she probably thought that she was doing a pretty good job at parenting, and the so-called dad being there was probably a good thing for the daughter because she needed a dad, and it was helping her out, and he was seemingly being a good dad. So people can threaten her and attack her until the cows come home. But if this woman doesn't even necessarily fully understand that she was a horrible, horrible, horrible parent and guardian and caretaker for this daughter, for this young lady, then it just, you're defeating the purpose. You're defeating the purpose. Do I believe some of the things that you guys are saying, like she was in on it and things like that? Not really. I really don't. This woman, you're saying she's not grieving and all that. This woman is hard. You can tell that. She's hard. She come from a hard life. She come from breaking down, crying, hooting and hollering and all that. She ain't built like that. This woman is just hard. She's tough. She been through some stuff. She had to be hard. And, she just ain't the break down and cry boo-hoo type. She seemed like the whoop your tail. I mean, beat the crap out of you. Mean, emotionless for the most part type, old school granny. I had a mean granny with no feelings, bro. No feelings. And she was just built like that. Life conditioned her that way. So I can see that this woman is just the way she is. She's just the way generational curses.
So they give you gifts. They try and make you comfortable with them. They try and say little things to you that you and they can keep secret, and then eventually they pounce. And that's how I feel that. Oh God, where?
One thing I noticed about the mama, the sister, which is the sister to Kehlani's natural mother and the mother. They all make it about them. Listen to the mama. She made it about her. I bought her to school, the birthday stuff. But listen to her explaining about how the predators do. Well, she knew all that. She knew not to have this man around this girl. She knew not to have no man around the daughter and get this man free range with this child, especially when it was in question if he was even the real daddy. If the mama say he ain't the daddy, he ain't the daddy. I definitely understand why people are coming for her. I really, really do. This woman is totally dysfunctional. She's dysfunctional. Whether she know it or not, she dysfunctional. This woman knew good and heck well. She been on this earth too long to not know it. And you can listen to her right there. She's describing it. She knew good and hell well that no man who gonna take interest in somebody's child and come around them like that for nothing and be nice and give them stuff and take care of them like they their own child when they don't have to for nothing. They're waiting for that opportunity, and she knew that. She knew that. She didn't protect her.
How all of this is played out, I feel that's what happened. She was a virgin. She didn't like boys.
There's also comments, and we're just trying to address those and get those addressed. There's comments online and speculation again that, Kimani, her home situation, she was abused. What do you have to say to that?
Okay, abuse in whose eyes? Because she was not abused. Yes, she was chastised whenever she was wrong or did things wrong. Other than that, she was not abused. She was not just whooped for no reason or just because I felt like it. I've went through this twice because the school system had contacted CSB on her behalf when she went to Bennett Academy. And they came in, they did a case study and closed it. They've stated there's a way to chastise children without physically harming them. And you need to whoop them on their behind, nowhere else.
This woman is a danger. She is a danger to society, and she needs people like her need to cease to exist because they only create situations like what we are talking about right now. They create children that have trauma and that are dysfunctional just like them. They create children like Kehlani's mama who are traumatized and have generational trauma and then go on to have children that they can't even properly raise, and then they end up going backwards and being in the hands of someone dangerous like them. How can you not hurt a child if you are whooping them? Whooping, listen to the word whooping, like a master whoop his slave.
So, okay, with that in mind, I knew that. So she didn't have like bruises all over.
How long ago was that when they came into your home?
I would say the latest, it was approximately 7 months ago.
She didn't have bruises all over. So where did she have bruises on? Just her butt? Did they really tell you that it was okay to just whoop them on their butt? I know they used to say that, but I thought the new rules was that you cannot hit a child at all. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, or is that in just some states? I thought it was the new rules all over that you cannot hit a child. See, her mindset, she really thinks that it's okay to whoop that child. This is the generation that you don't ask no questions. You don't get to have feelings. You don't get to express yourself. You just do. You just be quiet. Do you think she goes to Kehlani and say, how are you today? How was school today? Anybody bother you? What's wrong? Why are you acting like this? Tell me what's going on. You can tell me anything. Hug her. Kiss her. You're so beautiful. Talk to me. What's going on, baby? I love you. No. So many of us know this situation all too well. We know all of these characters all too well, all of the characters. We're talking about them, but we're not attacking them. We're attacking the issue. We're attacking the problem. We're attacking the generational curses that we ourselves, a lot of us have grown to break, to learn to break. But you have to recognize them. Just attacking the people and saying, oh, they need to be da-da-da-da, that is not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it. You are wasting time. That's like standing around all day telling he crazy as heck, and he gonna tell you, I'm a genius with autism. That he gonna say it to you every time. So listen, a lot of us been up and through these situations and worse, except for we made it out alive. Just barely. Messed up. And even know better and know what to break. But we've been there. We've been through it. We lived through it. Some of us know this lady. We know this lady. And we know the auntie. We know the mama. Yes, we know this lady. She don't know what she done wrong. She don't. Now, let me rephrase that because I don't want to make it seem like I'm trying to just let her off the hook. It's not that she doesn't know what she did wrong, because like I said before, she's not going to stand there and then explain to you and like that what a groomer does and not know that this dude was grooming that young lady. She was never taught to protect young girls. No one protected her. She's never seen that before. Exactly what she did with Kehlani is exactly what she learned. That is what her generation and her parents' generation did. Her aunties, her grandmas, her people. You got whooped. You got neglected. You got yelled at. You got abused. And you got placed in the hands of the most dangerous predators around you. And these people knew they were predators. And they knew they were after you. And that's what they did. And that's what she knew. And that's what she did.
And so you say the latest. So was it a few times that they came into your home?
It was twice total.
So twice total that they came into your home. Okay. And it was all for like you mentioned, what you just said earlier,
Yes.
explaining? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in terms of, this whole situation, so you were not arrested, correct? And that's
Correct.
what, a lot of people seem to think as they saw you going out and cuss. That's what you asked for, correct?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so my first question for you, can you tell me your relation to Dorothy?
I'm Dorothy's second oldest daughter. I'm Kimani's aunt. My name is Sanika. I live in Indianapolis. All this that is going on is devastating. You wouldn't think that, you see it happen around the world, but when it hits close to your heart, you really just be thinking like, did I do something wrong? Did I fail her? She didn't have the life to live that we have got to grow and live. She was only 13. So to know that somebody that I trusted, which was her father, to come through and deceive us just to get to Kimani in some sexual way or a harmful way, that hurts me to the fullest. At the point I feel like I failed her. Me as being her aunt, a person that she could run to and tell anything and everything to.
Again, these people don't realize that they did what they did wrong. She said that Kehlani can run to her and tell anything and everything too. Well, she had a whole lot to tell her, didn't she? A whole lot that we'll probably never even know. Okay, whatever was going on with this guy and whomever else, right? Because who knows how many people was coming at this child because they could see she was wide open. They already, not herself, but the situation. They could see she was not protected and guarded, right? Okay. They could see the grandma was stone cold and hard. They could see she could not go to grandma and say, Grandma, this. And the grandma say, What? Okay, I'm going to go get him. No, it would never be that. They knew all of this, right? She could not go to her and say, Grandma hitting me, she whooping me, but she not asking me why or what's going on. No, none of that. So, did you think this woman really standing here on this newscast telling y'all this stuff, that this little girl can come to her and tell her any and everything, and we hearing all this that we're hearing, and this girl don't know what she talking about? What did she come and tell you? Because if she came and told you a fraction of what she was going through, what did you do?
That was my girl. That was my baby. And to hear all of this, to know all of this, and to be going through all this and hearing it for as long as that it went on, it's very devastating. I see so many people that are supposed to be my family that's going against my mom and me for that instance, and saying like, oh, she failed her, she had something to do with it, she had this and that. It doesn't matter at this point. For right now, and until we get justice for Kimani, it's all about Kimani. What I would like to say is
That statement is going to be hard for a lot of people to understand and to swallow, but she actually is right, because that guy needs to pay for what he did, because he is the one who actually, and I can't repeat what he did, unfortunately. However, he did those things, but the addressing of the generational curses to where these people don't even understand where they failed her at is what needs to take place in the long run, even if not for them, for other people. That's what needs to come out of these type of situations to save other children.
A lot of people on the internet starting GoFundMe's, and that's not what we need right now, because it's not what Kimani needs. The funeral home has objected to say that they're going to come and pay for everything, so there's no need for any GoFundMe pages, any of that. Everything is being taken care of that needs to be taken care of by her family, her immediate family.
Does it upset you that there are GoFundMes? Some of them, I think, in cases might be scams too as well. That are
What upsets me is that people are starting these GoFundMe pages and putting Kimani name underneath it, and they know that it's going to get viewed, and people have sympathy and feel some type of way about that. And some of them can be scams, but I know some of them have come from family members. When just let the immediate family handle that. Like, what y'all gonna do with the money if y'all not turning into the funeral home? There's no need. Let us handle it. Y'all just sit back and give us the emotional support that we need. That's what we need right now. As a family, as a community, we should all come together and just give each other the emotional support that.
Generational curses. That is sad. That tells you just how dysfunctional this family is. And this family is a lot of families. It's a lot of families, but it's mainly a lot of what so-called, how we call it, black families. This is sad that they just know that they can bounce up and take advantage of the situation and put in GoFundMe's. And she probably don't even know that she can report them.
We honestly need. And that's just what I asked for everybody to, calm down, breathe. I know this is a hard time, because it's not just a hard time for y'all. This is a rough time for me. I just need y'all to come together and understand that we need each other as a community, as a family, and emotional support is what we need the most in this situation.
Yesterday the crowd was, if you were here, I'm assuming, the crowd was very upset, lots of emotions going through too, especially at this time with such a sensitive situation. We've heard multiple comments out in the crowd, attacking or pointing fingers at your mom. So, what has it been like finding her support system and helping her out?
In a way, you have to be mature enough to decide, am I going to follow along with the crowd, or am I going to stick around with the loner? I'm to the point where I'm not following nobody. I'm going with what's right. If it was your mother, if it was your niece, would you console your mother? Would you console the person that was closest to her, who lived with her? I'm not out to have a torch and the pitchforks and all out to go against anybody except the person who did this, which I believe was her father, Darnell. I don't have any other anger pushed towards anybody else. I'm angry that this happened, but I'm angry at the person who did this.
Do you?
Again, she's correct. Because at the end of the day, you can yell at this woman all day long, but neither one of them are capable of understanding their wrongs in this. That's something that it would take some professional help long term, and maybe they still wouldn't get it. And then if you're going to treat them like that, then you have to also turn around and do it to the actual birth mother, and then go for the birth father, and then go see the generational trauma. Nobody is exempt in this situation. Nobody is exempt in this situation.
If have you been in contact with Tiara, the mother?
Yeah, I've been in contact with my sister. It's been briefly. It's been over through text. Like I said, I live in Indianapolis. I seen her yesterday, but that was very brief. It wasn't even more than 5 minutes. It was more or less that she wanted to show me my other niece, Kazaria, which is Kimani's youngest sister. But it wasn't like it was oh, sis, what are we gonna do? Any of that. And I don't wish this on nobody. I really don't. I could, your mind go different places when it's a baby. That was a baby. Like I said, I have a very close relationship with Kimani. She was a tomboy. She wasn't out looking for, trying to be fast or, mischievous or any of that. So for her mother to come down and have all this to say and all that, Tiara, where was you for the past 4 years? We haven't seen you since Kimani TikTok party. You haven't called her? You haven't sent her anything. You haven't said, oh, baby, I'm going to come get you for a weekend. We haven't seen you until this happened.
Just like her mother, she is putting herself on a higher pedestal. And yes, they were actually in her life when her mother wasn't. But who's to say that this or something similar or something worse wouldn't have happened to her if she was with her mother? However, this is the same fruit from the same tree. It is all equally rotten. I'm glad that she is throwing her sister under the bus because it gives us a very clear picture. We got a clear picture here. Everything we need to know is right here. We don't need nothing else. The full interview with the mother, and she talks about how the daughter really never had Kehlani since she was a baby. Another lady had her, and then the grandmother eventually got her. It says that the birth mother was never in a position to raise her first daughter. She was never raised properly. She has trauma. Okay? She fights with her mom. They look at her mom. Can you imagine the life that Kehlani's mother had coming up? Can you imagine the things that she wasn't protected from that happened to her? Can you imagine how she's barely coping? And yes, still having children. And yes, she has her other children. That doesn't mean she was capable of taking care of Kimani. And why did she build a bond? How is she supposed to know how to do that? Who built her? She don't even have a bond with her own mother. She does not have a good family foundation, a good family situation. All of them are dysfunctional. There is some serious generational trauma there. The only thing we missing in this situation is how do we know that she was in that house? Pertaining to the actual case, how did we know that she was in a house? How did they find out she was in a house? That would answer some questions. But as far as who failed the baby, all your answers are right here. Okay? It starts at the root. Yes, the mother, because she's the matriarch. She's the one who is alive. She is the tree of the generational trauma. But it started way before her and it trickled down. So it is her fault, but it's not necessarily her fault. She never had the tools or the wherewithal or even, I guess, to even want to break those curses and change herself. And it seems like the sister, it seems like she's trying. It seems like she wants to. And maybe the mother does too and has been trying to. But they ain't even cutting it even halfway enough. Not even halfway enough. And they don't even know it, and that's sad. Y'all can attack these people till you blue in the face. It's their generational traumas that put this baby in the ground. And this came from the oppressors in the beginning. And it's a trickle down effect. And we have to first recognize it, understand it, and then learn how to change it in order to beat it. That's what you can do to honor this baby girl.
Why we got to see you when it's a tragic moment? So, Tierra, where do you stand?
And Tierra lives in Cleveland, correct?
Yes.
So she's talking about the mother, because the mother was on live stream and saying all kinds of stuff. And I don't know what's true, man. I don't know what's true. All I can say is,
So the past 4 years, you're saying there was very little communication.
Very, very minimum. It wasn't even, she'll call my mom. She'll go through me and say, "How you talk to mommy?" And I'm like, "No, about what?" And she'll say, "Oh, well, she got custody of Kimani and she trying to get child support from me." So it wasn't that Tierra was concerned about Kimani. It was more of the why she want child support from me.
What is the relationship between your mother and your sister Tierra?
It's very distant. They had their words. They fought. Kimani mother has a godmother that Kimani was with before my mom got her. And there was no communication then from Tierra. I feel like Tierra just let her go. Because any mother would be on her toes to get her children back. That wasn't the case here. It just wasn't.
When was Kimani taken away from Tierra?
I'll say about 7-8 months. And then Tierra godmother stepped in and got custody of Kimani, which would have been around 9 months. Yeah, and Kimani had been with that lady from 9 months all the way up until about, I'd say 5.5 years ago. So it wasn't like Tierra was actually in the picture, you know, saying, hey, maybe I can start getting myself together to get my child back so nobody else can get hurt.
Are you ever worried for Kimani's safety with any of the family members or anyone?
I wouldn't say I was worried because I
don't think she could. I don't think she had what it took or knew what the first step was. I don't think she had the community support, the family support. I don't think she even knew what that would even look like.
I was here. Every winter break, spring break, holidays, birthdays, I was here for Kimani.
For some of us, and I know y'all are listening, and I know you feel it. It is so traumatizing listening to these people talk because they are not even holding themselves accountable for what happened to this young lady. I was here for her every birthday, holiday, spring break. You were not here for her. You were not here for her because if you was here for her, he wouldn't have been here for her. If you was here for her, she wouldn't have been getting hit on. If you was here for her, this wouldn't have happened to her. I'm certainly not going to play any of the ones with the mama talking. You know, at the end of the day, it's not that these people aren't hurting. It's not that these people aren't gonna grieve. And you know, they gonna talk themselves up. They gonna put themselves in a position, and you know, this one here, the auntie, she's taking some kind of accountability, but at the end of the day, she's not taking no accountability. She's saying she was there for that baby. She wasn't there for that baby. Nobody was there for that baby. But they don't understand that. And they won't understand that. Probably not even in this lifetime they will understand that. The mother. Oh, she was just over there today, and you know, we do Jones and everything, you know, and that suffice for her. That's okay for her. And that's probably the best she could do. Because she got generational trauma herself. She dysfunctional herself. But none of them were there for her. None of them were there for her. None of them were there for her, period. I don't care what they think or what they tell themselves in their heads. They weren't there for her. She wouldn't have ended up being found in an old burnt up house with her hand severed, her head, her throat nearly completely severed, her body being violated and no longer functioning. After going through who knows what in her only 13, almost 14 years on this earth. And some of us know what that's like. Being on this earth for 13 years. Only 13 years, but going through more trauma than most people probably will ever experience in their entire lives. And continued to go through more, but did not experience that. Did not experience that. This is what not tackling generational traumas will do. This is what not tackling generational traumas will do. When you weren't raised properly, when you were neglected, when you were mistreated, when you were allowed to be abused, it causes trauma upon you the trauma of those who were around you causes trauma to you, and then now you are trauma. It really boiled my blood to listen to this grandmother say she was a virgin. You let this man come around this young lady and take her away on more than one occasion. Be alone with her, have access to her. And all of us know, if we don't know nothing else, we know not to give no free access, no free range to no young lady. Especially when that's not his child. Especially when he knows she don't have nobody. Cause Kimani didn't have nobody. She didn't have nobody. And here's the teacher. So many people failed this young lady, and nobody in this situation can turn around and point the finger at the next person. In my opinion, nobody. The mama can't point the finger at the grandma. The sister can't point the finger at the birth mother. The family can't point the finger at CPS or even the man who did it. But what I do want to say that I appreciate every male who, even if behind closed doors, but I have been seeing men on TikTok since I've seen this story. I have been seeing men on TikTok speaking up in a different way. And they're talking about the dysfunction of men that have to change. They are talking about the sickness of men being attracted to children. Shout out to you for talking about this, because this has a starting point, and it is our responsibility as women to break our generational curses and to protect these children. But we can't do nothing about a predator being a predator. That starts with y'all. Because where does the sicknesses come from? Where did it come from? These are things that y'all have to address and y'all have to deal with. We have our fight on our ends and our work to do, and y'all have y'all's, and I applaud it. And I also want to give a shout out to another male for addressing something, because I still think it's relative, and that's mediocre tutorials and reviews. I think I sporadically watch him. I used to watch him a lot, but I watch him sporadically. He was reviewing a Joe Budden episode, and there is they call her Mel, but she's a former worker, if you will, and her and Joe was having a spat about a topic, and y'all can go watch that episode, and you can also watch his review, and you can gain your own perspective. Although although I can see some of her points in the conversation, and I think that they weren't quite getting what she was saying, I still understood where they were coming from. And I don't necessarily think, although I didn't watch their episode, I only saw it through mediocre tutorials and reviews, doing a review on it. Hopefully you guys are following me. I wouldn't have been able to see their point of view if I hadn't listened to it through his perspective, if that makes any sense. Because I understood what she was trying to say. And I think what she was trying to say was important. But when I listened to it from his point of view, what he was saying was important. Yeah. What the guys were saying was definitely important, and I get it. And what they were saying, from my perspective, at the end of the day, is that they have work to do, and sometimes you gotta let them work. Okay? And when there is a problem with us in doing that, we need to be able to understand that and fall back. And sometimes you need to make your point, and I get your point, but sometimes it ain't the right time. And let me give you another perspective on that. The guy who plays Captain Planet, he was on a talk show and he was talking about leaving. When he leaves his home, he has his 15-year-old, and his 15-year-old is the man at the house. And he tells his 15-year-old, when I leave here, you lock this door, you take care of your mama and your siblings, and you call me after you lock this door before you go to bed when you wake up. She was arguing maybe that's a little too much responsibility for him. Maybe he's too young. And Joe and the guys was like getting at her about that. Let him do his thing with his son. How you gonna tell him when and how and everything like that? That's his son. And she was trying to argue the point. And I'm just sitting here like, yeah, sometimes we gotta know when to stand down. It shouldn't even been a thought of hers to even say so. One thing I have always done is pay attention to these guys. Even if I don't agree with them or I don't think I'm going to agree with them, I listen to try to understand. And one point that I see that they have been making is that certain things are necessary in order for them to establish what makes the good character of a male, so that they have less of these types of issues. Shout out to mediocre tutorials and reviews. I hope I'm saying his channel name right, because that's what he explained, and he explained it very well. He summed it up very, very well. And when they were saying that man needs to have his 15-year-old handle that responsibility, even though it makes all the sense in the world to me, I ain't even gonna lie. I don't see why she's trying to argue that point. It needs no explanation. But even deeper than that, they are saying this is what some of the things that molds him into a responsible male that learns to be a protector and not a harmer, instead of just, say, leaving the home and, not holding him strongly to that type of responsibility. It makes sense. Instead of her wanting to interfere with what the man is doing and say, oh, he that's too much to put on him, and he is too young. What? At 15? Yeah. We gotta let them do what they need to do, because they know what they're supposed to do, and they need to be allowed to do it without you coming in being soft. There is more than enough for the women to work on, as shown in this situation right here. This generational trauma. Put all that trauma on this young lady. Trauma that so many have experienced and end up growing into grown adult women that are full of trauma and dysfunctional, except she didn't survive it. Just like so many. I can sit here and name them and tell you case by case, and some of them I've brought to you before, right? Just like the other one. Her mama handed her off to her ex, 8 years old. He had his way with that baby and left her where? Out in the wilderness, in a pond, to be eaten by wildlife. And this woman got sympathy. She walked away with her little brother from the grandma house to go stay the night with this man. And his girlfriend was there and watched him carry her out at 2 o'clock in the morning and didn't say nothing. Not even when the police came the next morning asking questions about, well, where did she go? It wasn't until the trial that the girlfriend admitted that she saw him take her up out of there. The grandma let her go with that man. When the mama was at work and knew she was with that man, she didn't leave work and go get her baby. Stay out of what men are doing. Let them do what they do. Work on us. Work on us. Do understand her explanation, her breakdown of the saying of the bear. Me, myself, I really didn't get it because I ain't one of the ones going around saying it. But when she broke it down like that, it made sense. And I think Joe and them are just offended. And I think most guys are offended. But at the end of the day, if y'all stop to put yourselves in our shoes, that's just what it is. You're gonna have to do more, because you guys teach each other basically from birth to be a certain way. And it creates a type of monster that we cannot afford to have around. We can't afford to have around. It's not okay. And you're going to either stand against it, or we're going to prefer the bear, and you're just not going to like hearing that. You can't have it both ways. You can't. Y'all excuse all the dysfunctional, morally incorrect, terrible things that you do. You do it, you excuse it, you hide it, you take up for it. And women know you do it. They excuse it, they hide it, they take up for it. They forgive you. They stay with you. They turn against children for you. Children's lives are ruined and even taken for your sick and twisted ways that you teach to each other. So, if women say they prefer to bear, don't get mad at women for saying that. Change it. There is absolutely no way that this male, who even had other biological children of his own, should have been plotting on this young lady, preying on this young lady, and waiting for an opportunity to have just one experience of, dare I say, pleasure. And then to so brutally and heinously take her life, only to end up where? Because he could have had his life taken too. So now he'll be behind bars because of that. And that's another stain on the male species. For what? You gotta get to the root cause of this man.